What's up, everybody? This is Coach Jonathan David Lee. Welcome to our Fitness Heroes call, our weekly Fitness Heroes, well, monthly now, right? We do weekly webinars since we switched that up, right? For those who don't know, we used to do team calls every week and then webinars once a month. And now we switched that on its head where we do team calls once a month and webinars every single week so that people have something to constantly invite to. And so our special guest speaker today is going to be talking just about that. So what a coincidence that we're going to have our guest speaker talk about webinars and how it's helped them in their business and why it's so important and things of that nature. But before we get into that and introducing our guest speaker, I want to say, I want to congratulate Julia for being back in action, right? One of our diamond lifers. Right? She's in this for a long haul. She's got some songs coming up, and I'll let her say that when it's ready. And I want to congratulate Kyle, who's also on this call, who hosted his first home meeting.
Awesome.
Yeah, and his first webinar is actually tomorrow. So this is perfect for you guys. Right? This is perfect. And and of course our team, well, tomorrow's Wednesday, so we have another webinar tomorrow. So invite your people to that. The release of Core de Force is this November 1st. So get your hands on that. Let your teams know. And of course, Super Saturday is coming up October 29th. So put that on your calendar as well. Those in Columbus, Ohio, those in Atlanta, Georgia, get your teams. We're going to bring all our Brooklyn people and go to Westchester area where Joel and Jericho are there, right? So those are the news and announcements and the little shout-outs that I wanted to do. But yeah, without further ado, here's our guest speaker, Jennifer Fay. She is a she's a diamond coach, and they're from upstate, or more upstate than me, New York. And of course, there's Bryan Fay, one-star diamond coach, right next to her. And they're going to be speaking to us about, the power of webinars and things of that nature. And I believe Jen, when she started giving webinars, or when Bryan started giving webinars, Jen was not even a diamond coach. Is that correct to say, or like close to that? Yeah. So she's going to be sharing with us. You don't need. I would say Emerald Coach is a success anyway, but you don't need to be a diamond coach to give webinars. You don't need to have 6 figures to give webinars. You just got to give it. You have the vision. And of course, Jennifer is going to share with you how she did that. And then take it away.
Hey guys, thank you so much, Jonathan. Okay, before I get into like kind of the how-to and all that stuff with webinars, I just have to go into like why, because I think a lot of coaches are super confused about why we use webinars, because like we have challenge groups and what's the big deal. I think people look at webinars as like kind of like scary territory, because it's like you making a presentation and it's like has to be professional and perfect and all that stuff. Well, I do have to tell you that my first webinar was actually, I was just the coach. One of the things that I got from watching tons of YouTube videos was acting as if. So Lindsay Matway, I'm sure you guys are familiar with her. When she was just the coach, she basically acted like she was a diamond coach, like a superstar diamond and all that stuff, and acted like, yes, okay, I've done enough research to know that I know what I'm talking about. So if you guys know, like you guys are obviously coaches, so you know what you're talking about, you know why you joined the coach opportunity. So that's definitely something you could speak on. And it's okay if you're not a diamond or 1-star or 2-star or whatever, because you're going to be speaking with people who were just like you, only like maybe 2-3 months prior whenever you joined on. So you guys can relate to that, relate to how you felt, relate to all the apprehension and questions and hesitations that you guys had. So just so you know, like when I started these webinars, I was super, super nervous, and I was like kind of like all over the place. It was like kind of overwhelming, but a few tips, I'll give you guys a few tips on how to kind of like beat that, because once you beat that, then it's like smooth sailing from there, okay? All right, so what I did was I basically copied people. That's all it is. So this business, that's like the big secret, right? This business, if you guys haven't noticed, this business is about 2 things. Well, it's about a few more than 2 things, but when it comes to these things, these trainings, it's about duplication, because you want to be able to tell your team to duplicate like these things, and you want to be easy enough to duplicate. And it's also about leverage. So if right now, if you guys don't feel like you're ready to do a webinar, although I think everyone can do a webinar, if you guys don't think that you're ready to do one, leverage someone else's webinar on your team. And do that until you feel comfortable to say, hey, yeah, I can do this. I can do this webinar, or team up with somebody else. Because like that's pretty much all it is. Like if you guys, I'm sure Jonathan has free groups and challenge groups and webinars. Like you guys have webinars to invite to every single month, you know, every single week. But you guys can leverage that if you guys don't feel ready like tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So like that's one thing that you can definitely learn from. And that's basically what I did. I leveraged these other webinars in a sense where I just like learned from them because they were just out there. It's like all free stuff, you know, it's free content, it's free knowledge, it's free training, it's all that stuff right on YouTube. So I used that and I was just like, okay, how can I make this my own? And I'll be honest, in the beginning, I didn't. It was completely like word for word, the slide for slide. It was theirs. I just changed colors. Okay. And I was also smart enough to follow somebody like Lindsay Matway that I knew she knew what she was talking about. And what I did was I took over a period of like a week, I just listened to it over and over and over again. That's it. When I was in bed, I had it playing and I had it in my ears. I didn't necessarily look at the slides, but I just had it playing because I wanted to know what she was talking about. And after I just kept on listening to it over and over again, like I was confident in the fact that I could present this, you know? And once you guys do that, you guys are sitting in with these webinars that Jonathan's holding. You guys are listening to this over and over and over and over again, that you'll be able to just be like, pull it right out and be like, hey, you want to join a webinar? Or hey, I can make this presentation on the fly. And that'll eventually happen to you guys. So, so definitely take note of like those things. If you guys see something out there on YouTube that you guys like and you're like, hey, I can add this to a webinar, then absolutely do that. But for the actual webinar sake, and depending on like what you guys are doing. So like, for example, obviously there's going to be a coach, what is coaching kind of webinar, right? You guys can have webinars targeted to certain demographics, military, fitness professionals. You can kind of like branch off from there. But with the webinar itself, what you guys need to just kind of write out, just grab like a regular piece of paper and stuff, just draw out or write out what you want to talk about. And basically, because you're gonna be making slides. Like the point of the webinar is to show people visually what you're saying. And the slides are super, super easy because all it is, it's actually for me, it's easy because it's what I wanted to say, but put on paper. So when I see it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. You know, that's really all it is. You're not doing anything like super spectacular and, you know, like professional. It's basically your like little notes on a pretty square with some cute colors and some cute designs and maybe some arrows and things like that. And all you're going to do is it's reminding you what you want to say. It's keeping you on track. So you're not going to be like, I don't know, you know, so this way you'll just be like, okay, next, the next slide. All right, I'm going to talk about this. So just take a piece of paper and I literally drew squares. It's actually pretty sad. I don't think I have it here. I literally just drew squares and I was like, okay, I can see a circle and then I'll put two more circles and I'll be like, okay, how do these, and I'll put arrows and all that stuff and see how they kind of, you know, connect with each other. So as long as you guys have that kind of layout, like you want to have like, let's say 10 slides and you'd be like, okay, and then just plan out, just like you would plan out your day, plan out the things that you want to talk about. So new coach or what is coaching kind of a webinar, you're going to talk about things like hesitations, because you know everyone's going to ask that, and how are you going to combat like those hesitations. And you can even write those hesitations on the square itself, like, you know, because you know you're talking about hesitations, so like you'll put maybe like, is this a pyramid scheme, or I don't want to be a salesperson, or, you know, whatever, this is a scam, all that stuff. So you'll be able to say these things and you'll be able to kind of keep on track with that. You'll want to say stuff like, maybe you want to add like a financial reward, the financial benefits of it, the time freedom benefits, all those things, like those ideas, you can just get from people like Jonathan's webinar, other webinars that you've seen. You can really, like, it's so freeing to know that you can kind of pick and choose as long as you cover the main topics. But one thing I definitely will recommend is, before anything else, you have to put a little bit of your story in it. Who you are. Like, they want to see that you're a person and that you're not some sort of robot, and they'll physically be able to see you, but they want to know a little bit about your life. It kind of like breaks the ice a little bit. So, you know, why you became a coach, who you are, you're a college student, you're a working dad, you have 2 kids, you're married, you know, whatever, you love to travel, you know, favorite foods or whatever, biggest struggles, your weight loss, transformation. You can add so many things. And basically just, it's like a Facebook, what you would put as a Facebook picture, a picture of you transforming, a picture of you with your family, you know? So like you guys do this a lot. You guys share your story all the time. So it should be really, really easy to come up with those slides. Let me see, hold on. Let me see what else I wrote. Okay, so another tip I have for you guys when it comes to webinars is be yourself. And I know it sounds like so super simple because they say be yourself on Facebook, be yourself here, just say, you know, like honestly, like this is your platform to showcase who you are. And they don't necessarily want to see someone that has their speech like perfectly laid out, you know, like note cards and like all this stuff. They don't want to see that. They want to see you like just talking regularly and just talking about family. And if you deviate a little bit, like they'll probably appreciate that. You know, like sometimes like my dogs or my kids will like fly in the back and my dog will bother me. And sometimes I'll say like, hey guys, if you see like my dogs or you see my kids just like kind of like in the background, like this is just my life. You know, like that's just how it is. That's my life. And you might see them back there. You might see like my dog's head just like pop up or my cat walking across the screen because that's just my life. And just being yourself is such a huge part of what attracts a lot of people to get them to sit down and listen because they're about to sit down for like the next 30 to 40 minutes and you want to make it so that you can kind of just relate and be normal, I guess, like, and just like they can feel comfortable with you. All right, let me see what else. Okay. I'm trying to think if I should go on another topic or something else. Okay, so be yourself, write and draw your own slides. Okay, yeah, ask yourself what you want to cover, what you would want to hear. And definitely, if you guys need ideas, if you know, watch other webinars and you want more ideas, you can go in the back office. Like the back office, you don't have to be super fancy with it. It's not anything where you have to, you know, I've seen a top 10 coach. She did straight from the back office, like the pictures and everything. And it was just like, I was shocked. I was shocked that she used that as a resource. But again, remember these things in the back office, the 5-step invitation, all those things were basically formed because all the top coaches got together and talked about what worked. So they created those training materials. So when they created these slides for, you know, giving a coaching webinar, what is coaching webinar, like it's legit and you guys can totally use that as a guideline. And then as you get comfortable, you guys can be like, oh, okay, I get it. Now I want to add a little bit of my flavor to it and all that stuff. So just know, like, it's not like it has to be either or. It could be in between. It could be, you know, whatever you want. Just kind of like your coaching business. All right, so I'm going to actually share my screen for a sec to show you guys what I use. I'm sure you guys are super familiar with it. I personally, can I get this off? Okay. Yeah. I love PicMonkey. I do have like a kind of like an artistic kind of creative side. And it's, I don't know, I think it's also like just really, really easy. It's kind of like Photoshop for dummies, I guess. But I'll use PicMonkey all the freaking time. And all I'll do is, I actually paid for it. You don't have to because there's so many free. It's like a lot of it is free. And I know a lot of people don't. I think it's like $35 for the whole year or something like that. And remember, this is a tax-friendly business, so you can always write it off. But yeah, so I use this all the time. And all I'll do is I'll hit design. And I like to use a square for what I put it in, presentation-wise. And then once you put in the square, I've researched colors. The way people interpret colors, and it makes them feel a certain way. Like green and red makes you feel hungry, which is why like Subways and a whole bunch of Blimpies and Burger King has those colors because they want it like they basically just want to get you like hungry so you can eat it. But anyways, so yeah, I tend to feel like brighter colors, like blues, just look better and garner more, like a little more. So I'll use like blue, and you can use different fonts, and you can really like make it whatever you want, or you can make it super simple, write down, bullet it, you know what I'm saying? Like bullet it all, and then that's it. And literally just go over the slide one by one. It is like so easy. As long as you know what you want to put, that's really all it is. And then once you have it here, like just giving you a quick rundown, like once you have it all, you know, you save it and everything, I like using Google Slides. So this is actually a FitPro webinar that Bryan and I put together. And I made all these slides. And again, none of them are super fancy. I've made fancier ones. Like this one literally was just like, you have like the main ideas, like all over here. And then like, I just added some things because I thought it looked sciencey, you know? Like, I'm not a professional, guys, I swear. Like, it's just like, no one uses the word sciencey, but like I just did. So yeah, I just put stuff in there to make it like, you know, look a little, I don't know, to fill up some space because I had some time, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, so these things, you know, you can just create on the fly and you can get creative, or you could just do something super simple and just like that, you know? Like, it's not a big deal. You can grab pictures, just a whole bunch of stuff that you can do. As long as you, again, as long as you know what you're talking about and how you want to put it out there. And you could put it out here like this. You can put it out here, again, like a list, whatever you guys feel. So yeah, but anyways, I use Google Slides because I used to use it as like I used to have like a PowerPoint presentation and stuff, but I felt like at least I can share this through, like I had it on my phone, I had it really anywhere instead of just kind of like on this computer and this computer only. So I felt like Google Slides was really, really just like an easy thing to use. And it's also, it's free. Like all this stuff is, the fact that it's free is really cool because, you know, you're leveraging Google, you're leveraging PicMonkey, which is a free site, just so that it can help you out in your business and you're not paying for anything. You're just spending a little bit of time on it. So I thought that was awesome. So really all you're going to do when it comes to Google Slides is you have a blank. What happened here? Oh, you have a blank. Here you go. Sometimes my like slides gets like a little laggy. Okay, so you have a blank presentation, and then you'll just delete these boxes if it ever loads. You can delete the boxes, just highlight it, and then click delete. And you insert image. And you can literally click and drag, click and drag, click and drag. And then once your slides are all loaded up on this left-hand side, you could just shift them up and down. Like you want the first slide to be the third slide instead. So you're just gonna click and drag, click and drag.
And we did a lot of like strategizing before the FitPro webinar, and you know, we talked about that, and
right.
we put the slides in order.
Yeah, yeah. So so like that's basically what we use for our webinars itself. And then once we have the webinar together, once we have everything in place, we'll look at it, and you have to go over it. You have to do a few rundowns, because you can't just go in there thinking like, yeah, I know this, whatever. I've seen other people do it. I can do it. Like, don't do that, because it's just not going to work out. Like, you think you're going to know it, but you're probably going to start fumbling a little bit, and you need to know where you're going to start fumbling, because you want to be able to, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want to be kind of like all over the place. You want to like stay focused, and you want to just be able to like get to the point and then like move on. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so that's basically how I make the webinars. It's not anything like mind-blowing, I think. It's really just a matter of knowing what you're going to say, being confident in what you're going to say, and doing it no matter what. Like, I can't even tell you how many times I messed up, and I like totally sucked. And I was just like, that was the worst thing ever. I can't listen to myself on the playback because I hate the way I sound. Like all these things basically just like kind of flood like my mind. And I'm just like, I'm not going to do another one. I shouldn't do another one. And that happened probably the first 2 times. And then the 3rd time I did it, the 4th time I did it, the 5th time I did it. After that, it was just like smooth sailing. And I was like, I got this. And I was like, I could do a whole webinar on just network marketing, the profession in general, and why people should do it. I should do a webinar on this. I should do a webinar towards, you know, whatever, military, whatever it is. Like you start getting super, super comfortable because the only way you're going to learn is if you do. And then after that, it's if you teach. You're going to learn even more when you teach it, you know? So, so definitely, guys, like if you feel like you're at a place you're like, I'm not really sure, because we have coaches on our team that are scared to do a webinar too. And I get that because we were in that exact same position. But everything that you do is not for you. It's for the team that's going to be joining you in the future. It's going to be for your future coaches. It's going to be for their future coaches. You're basically doing this because you're setting an example saying like, yes, I can do it, so that when a new coach comes on, maybe 2, 3 levels down, 4, 20 levels down, they're going to be like, oh, well, she was just a coach when she did it, and she did it anyway, you know? So they're going to be following that example, and you want them to do that. So not only will it benefit you now in terms of maybe getting a few more eyes and exposures out there to, you know, some prospects, but the coaches that are going to be in your future downline will see that you're doing this no matter what.
Yeah, and it's always a win-win situation, because if you go on and you completely bomb it, and your prospect says, wow, you know, well, they're not that great a speaker and they're doing this business and I could probably do it too. And if you go on and you knock it out of the park, then you knocked it out of the park and you're going to impress your prospects. So I always look at these things as a win-win, and then you're always learning and growing,
right?
You know, as you're doing. So
when I listen to Lindsay Matway's, and you guys can find it on YouTube, her like What is Coaching webinar, she spoke beautifully. It was like damn near perfect. I was like, wow, she must have been, but you know what? She must have been doing it forever, which she probably has been. And the fact that she was probably doing it forever, and it gave me that feeling of like, yeah, you know, I can definitely do that. And then you see someone else who's also in the top 10 do one straight from the back office, and it was almost like she was reading it. She was just reading like the whole thing. And I was like, oh, well, that's comforting too, because anybody, like whether you have years upon years of experience, can make up your own, or you have years upon years of experience, you're still going to grab stuff from the back office because you know it works.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So really there's no excuse to like not be able to hold your own webinar. It's really just like the fear of like maybe like you messing up, or, you know, no one showing up, which is another thing, guys. If no one shows up, it doesn't matter. Do it anyway. Okay? Do it freaking anyway. Plenty of times, no one has shown up to our webinar, my webinar. And I don't take it personally. If anything, I look at it as a platform to practice. Like, and it's just going to be practice. And there has been, I remember one specific one, I like kicked ass on this webinar. I was like, holy crap, that was the best I ever gave. And no one was on. But you know what?
You had the recording.
It was recorded, and I was able to just shoot that out to everyone. I was super confident in that one, you know? So even if no one is on, it doesn't matter, because it could still be the best webinar you ever gave. And you want to be able to use that. You want to be able to leverage that for future coaches, for them to send out, or for you to send out to future prospects. So just keep on doing it over and over again. And yes, people will not show up. People will say they show up and they're not going to. It's going to be like dead silence. And then the next time, maybe one person will show up. And then after that, maybe no one will show up. And it's okay. Just keep on doing it over and over and over again. Because again, you're showing your future coaches or your fellow coaches now that it doesn't matter. I could still do it. All it really is just taking out an hour of, you know, the week to hold the presentation. And it's just going to benefit everyone. It's going to benefit everyone. So definitely do that, because all that stuff that you're doing right now is being watched. All right. People that are insecure, or that not insecure, but aren't sure about holding their own webinar, if you do it once and say, oh, no one showed up, so I'm going to stop doing it, like, then you can pretty much guarantee that your coaches will do that exact same thing. They're going to do it once. No one's going to show up. They're going to feel defeated. And then that's it, you know? So definitely don't do that. Let's see.
What I love about Anita Myron, when she talked about, she made a video about her calendar. She said that, you know, if she heard crickets and cockroaches crawling by and birds chirping in the air and like nothing was happening, she just did it anyway until something happened. And then like the whole time you're inviting and you're doing stuff like this, webinars, you're building your pipeline and you're showing people that you're for real and that you're, you know, not just trying to sell something. So if you get on and you do like one webinar and no one shows up, but you invited 100 people, and you never do it again, they see that you're inconsistent and you're not for real. But if you keep on showing up no matter what, then eventually people are going to show up. It's like that movie. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
You know, and they sure will come.
Yeah. It might not be, you know, whatever. It might not be that day. It might not be that following week or whatever it is, but they definitely will come. I can guarantee you that for sure. So, so definitely, guys, use webinars as it's a free resource. Like, I know, well, technically, because I do it on Zoom, so I guess technically it's not, like, free. But if I'm going to pay for something like Zoom, you better believe I'm going to make the most use out of it as possible. You know, so to put all these things on. So besides team calls and besides, like, you know, whatever, I'm going to use it for, you know, like, webinars and stuff. So I can create kind of different channels because a lot of people, again, like, they might not want to sit in a 3-day open house. They might not want to be in a free cleaning group. They might want to just do 1 hour at a set time during the week, and then that's it, be done, or watch a replay of a YouTube video or something like that. So you guys got to kind of be creative and kind of cater to those people because, like, I know, like, I learn visually. That's why I make these slides for myself because it really helps me, you know. But someone else might not want the webinar or whatever, and they might choose an open house. So definitely, like, all these different things are super, super lucrative for your business and your team and stuff. But definitely webinars are huge. And just take advantage. And if you feel like maybe for some reason, because, you know, as your team gets deeper and bigger, and, you know, you have, like, Bryan and I founding, you know, like, I guess founding coaches of Team Black Sheep or whatever, as, like, the levels get deeper and deeper, you're not going to know every single one of your coaches, right? And so it's going to be kind of hard to direct them to be like, oh yeah, you know, the upline, he holds a webinar all the time. And you can leverage that definitely for sure, always. But there's going to come a time where you might meet someone and they might not really connect with that person because that's just like another person and they really don't have any type of connection. They're connected with you. So that's another reason why you might want to just jump the gun and just be like, hey, I'm going to do my own webinar. Because, like, you want them to feel that connection, you know, and for them to just be like, hey, here, jump on Joe Schmo's webinar. You might not know him, but I know him. You know what I'm saying? Someone might be okay with that, but the next person might not be. They might be like, well, but that's like their story. That's not your story. I want to hear your story. So there's just like so many different reasons to do a webinar, but bottom line is definitely do one.
Absolutely. The more you could connect your prospect to you, the better your closing ratio is going to be. So, like, if you got a prospect, for example, on your upline's webinar, they might not connect with your upline all that much, but the reason that they're going to show up to begin with is because of you. So if you could partner up with your upline and maybe tell your story on the webinar, or if you could give the webinar yourself, you're going to do that much better in terms of closing your prospects. I know at the men's event, I think it's Doug Plaskett, I think his name is, he was talking about how his team is big on webinars. That's, you know, their main recruiting tool. And one of the things that he'll do is as soon as someone gets to Emerald rank, he'll have them, you know, invite people on the webinar, and then they'll do it together, you know, kind of like I do, you know, we do, you do type of thing. And he teaches them to do a webinar that way, and then they're doing their own webinars, and the closing ratio improves at the more visible they are in presenting the business opportunity.
Okay, so I didn't see like all the stuff in the chat. So do you give prizes? We don't give prizes on the webinar itself. We do it in the open houses only. But I mean, I guess it's something that we can do. I've never It might be.
A lot of people nowadays, they're kind of like combining the sneak peek, the open house and webinar deal, where it's kind of like a sneak peek in an hour,
right?
Type of deal.
Yeah.
And maybe they're giving out prizes, but we never did it on a webinar.
Yeah, I think honestly, like people have basically tried different combinations of everything. So if you guys just so happen to do like a sneak peek webinar, whatever, what is coaching webinar or whatever, and no open house that month, then yeah, I would definitely like give a prize and stuff. It's definitely, we have given prizes before. And we probably could give out a prize. I mean, that's a good idea, just to gain some engagement, ask some questions and stuff. The only thing is that sometimes with the webinar, I'll disable like chat and those things, because it'll just, like, literally I am so, I can only focus on one thing at a time. So like if I see a window pop up that says, hey, how do you do that? I'll be like, and then I'll just completely like forget what I'm saying. We used to have a service called Any Meeting, and I think Jonathan actually spoke on that call that last time. So the whole setup was totally different. It wasn't like Zoom, and you were able to have a chat, and it was hidden from the person giving the webinar. And Bryan would sit in, and he would answer questions that people would start typing in. So that definitely, helped, but obviously we don't have that anymore. So I'll just mute everyone's audio and everyone's video, because I can't physically see them. If I see them, I'd be like I'll look at it and be like, he's not having a good time. He looks bored. Like, oh my God, this isn't working. This is bad. Like, like he's like upset. I said something to offend, or like whatever. Like I'll like literally just like kind of like my eyes will drift that way, and then I'll completely like lose track of what I was saying.
That's probably like another good tip. Like if you feel any like nervousness or anxiety or anything,
mute that video.
Yeah, don't focus on the people, because a lot of times on these webinars and team calls and stuff, like people just have like blank faces. And if you start focusing on them, it's going to take you off your game.
Yeah.
Like, just focus on what you're doing.
Yeah, like you'll be like, show me some emotion, but like they're just like not. So definitely one of the things that helps, especially in the beginning, is to mute the video, definitely mute the audio, but mute the video where it's just like a bar or something and you can't see anybody. I know some people are giving webinars on YouTube, like it's like a YouTube Hangouts live or something. Yeah, and it gets broadcasted on YouTube, so you can have like a replay, and that's actually free. I don't know if you knew that, Jonathan, because I was trying to, because people are kind of stepping away from Zoom and doing like Google Hangouts on YouTube. So, and it's a completely free service. And I tried, but I don't know. I had to like research it. I had to look into it and stuff. But yeah, so how long are your webinars? Okay, my webinars are actually kind of on the longer side. They're like an hour. And personally for me, if I'm out there looking for information and, they're covering everything that I want answered, then I will sit for an hour. Sometimes I feel like someone speaking for a few minutes maybe isn't enough, but that's pretty much on your, how you want to present the webinar. Sometimes people will think hour-long webinars are too long and they'll want to cut it down to half an hour. That's why it's important to kind of run through, like just run through how you're going to say it, maybe speed it up a little bit and be like, oh, well, that was kind of like extra talk. I don't really need to talk about that. And I do go off on tangents because I do talk a lot, because like I'm just like, that's just me. So, but at the same time, I feel like if they see that about me and I'm just a normal person, it's like just a little more relatable. It's just that much more relatable. So just see how you do, record it, and it's going to pain you to play it back and listen to yourself, but just do it. Just do it, because that's the only way you're going to get better, and it's the only way you're going to learn. Let's see what else. Do I switch the pictures on my webinars? No, I don't. If anything, I'll add a picture.
You switch it up though. Like,
which ones?
You don't switch pictures, but like you'll switch, like you'll add things to the webinar.
I will add things that I'll say to the webinar because it'll like come into my head, and I'll be like, oh shoot, I should say that, and then I'll just like write it down real quick. But the pictures itself, no. Like that's the one good thing I feel about the webinars. It's just like you have the presentation, and that's the go-to. You don't necessarily have to change it up because you cover everything. You do it once, and then that's it. If you feel like a few years or a few months down the line you want to revamp it, by all means, go ahead. But for me, time-wise, keep it simple. You spend a little time, you make the webinar presentation, you do it once, and that's it. You have it forever. you know, like you'll just be able to recycle it over and over. Cause this is like a whole, I mean, this whole business is based off duplication. So it's like, you don't want to create more work for yourself. You want to be able to leverage that one thing that you did and then be able to just duplicate over and over and over and over again. And to you, it might seem super boring, and even to some teammates and stuff that are supporting you on the webinar, watching it, they've heard it like, you know, 30 times already. But definitely, guys, it's always going to be for that one person that didn't hear it. So just keep that in mind. Let's see, how long ago did you start presenting? Okay, I started a while ago. I started when I was just a coach, because I felt like, because I was kind of creative and I saw those slides, I was like, oh yeah, I can make those, and I'd probably have fun making them. But if I made them, I had to do something with them. So I was like, all right, might as well just, you know, start listening to Lindsay Matway and doing these webinars. But probably, I don't know, maybe like 9 months into like seriously like coaching. Before that, we didn't do webinars at all, I think. And I think that first webinar we enrolled maybe 12 coaches. Yeah. And we actually had a friend of ours, Tiffany.
We were killing it in the beginning.
And we had a friend of ours, Tiffany, and this is what I'm talking about, leveraging. She's not on our team or anything like that. But of course, like, you know, the people you meet, you love, and you want to help out. We told her we're having a webinar, and so she logged on, and her prospect logged on, and she was able to enroll her like ASAP. She messaged me like right as we're ending. She was like, I just enrolled her as a coach, you know? Remind me to take you guys out to dinner or something like that. Like she said, something funny like that. So she was able to leverage our webinar, which we loved, you know, because it means that it's a success. So, but yeah, and then after that though, you know, it wasn't 12 every single time. So I don't want you guys to think that, yeah, it's going to be like a blowout every single time. But it went down to like 6. There were times it went down to none. And then there was like, you know, other times where, yes, sending out the replay, it did eventually like, you know, get some eyes on it. And then we ended up like enrolling them as coach. So really it's just like a process. It's not going to be a huge blowout every single time. And I don't want you guys to think that, like, but you still have to do it because you want to be able to get that exposure out there. And be able to just do it. I mean, these are things that you just have to do.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Something came from every webinar we did.
Absolutely.
Like either we got those bunch of coaches, or we got one coach, or, you know, no one showed up and we got better.
Right.
Or she got better.
And even if it's just one coach, just remember, guys, all it takes is one. You know, that one coach can bring in 10,000. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, you never know. So you always want to do them all the time. We host webinars once a month. And I know it's because actually we're kind of thinking about Jonathan and how he's doing it once every week, and also the home parties. I know you're going to speak about that next week. But we always have 4 events going on every single month. It's a free group, a challenge group, open house, and the webinar. And the webinar always follows the open house. So we'll have an open house starting on a Wednesday, ending on a Friday, and then a following Wednesday, we'll have a webinar. And what we'll do is we'll tell the open house people that, because you know how Eric Worre says, you're always constantly giving exposure and then exposing them again and exposing them again. It's like exposure after exposure after exposure. So that's why we have all those things lined up. So it's different. And it actually kind of follows Anita Myron's calendar of a free group, and then going into a challenge group, and then going into open house and going webinar. So after the open house, sorry, I have my calendar right here. That's why I'm looking at the wall. At the end of the open house, it actually gives us a really good platform to be like, hey, we're having a webinar next Wednesday. And actually this past one that I did, I went live. I went live in that open house group. So instead of like I ended up putting the recording there anyway, but I went live so that people can see if they wanted to, like, because you never know, you know, and I have my phone here. It's not being used. I might as well just go live. And it just basically focused on the screen, and it went through all the slides and the whole presentation. Just make sure your phone's charged, because it actually drains a ton of battery. So I only do it once a month, and it's usually like the last Wednesday of every month. Like leading, just the exposure after exposure. So, you do it for your coaches? You send invites to webinars privately and on your Facebook. Do you do this on your personal page or your like page? Yes to all. We do webinars, not necessarily for our coaches. Like, they'll see this replay because honestly, like, our coaches are like a lot of other coaches. They're a little terrified or a little apprehensive of doing their own webinar because
like opportunity webinars for our coaches or like training webinars.
Do you send invites to webinars privately? While she's answering that, definitely opportunity.
Just like, yeah, like these webinars that we do, we or she does, we make available to our coaches.
Yeah, like
actually I do them too because we like team up on the fit stuff.
Right. We do it for the whole team, basically, and even sometimes for people that aren't on our team, like that first time. Really, anyone who needs it. It's not because at the end of it, like, we do talk about our team as a whole and why we call ourselves Team Black Sheep. But at the end of it, the call to action is to contact the coach that sent you here. Not like contact the Team Black Sheep coach, because we're putting it on YouTube and we're not like those type of coaches that are like snatching up everyone and like doing all that stuff. Like, obviously, like, this is something that, you know, we really believe in and should be like a moral thing, you know, like we have values. And so we just tell, like, the call to action is basically, you know, talking to the coach that sent you to this webinar. So we'll do it for really anybody. And a lot of our coaches will send people there and jump on. If you guys send a prospect to, like, let's say like Jonathan's, like, obviously it's your team, be on that call too. Be on that webinar too. And you guys might have heard it 20 times. It doesn't matter. Be on that webinar if you have a prospect on that webinar, because they need to see that you are on it.
So someone recently said, like, when you invite one of your prospects to something and you're not there, it's kind of like inviting someone to a party with people they don't know and you don't show up.
Yeah.
So make sure you show up.
Yeah, you're just gonna be like, yeah, it's fun, you love it, you know, see ya. Like, it's not like you want to physically be there. You know, you want to be there and you want to show them that you support and that they're not alone. You're not just like throwing them to the wolves, you know? So do we send invites to webinars privately and on our Facebook? Yes, absolutely. So we'll create an event. We'll also post about it. There'll be, like, you know, a post about what's coming up. We will privately message people, prospects, people that have been kind of like on the fence, or, you know, people that were in the open house, all that stuff, pretty much on personal and like page. And then, yeah, the private messages. One thing that I will say is that if you guys have like an open house or webinar and you have people that are on there but like no engagement, like whether it's in the event that you created and like you knew that they were listening, or you knew that they were on, or you knew that they were in the open house but they didn't say anything or whatever, like, the key with these webinars and stuff is the follow-up. So at the end of the webinar, every slide, make sure, because you're going to create like basically a call to action, make sure you say, instead of contact your coach, say your coach will contact you. Okay, it's basically the same thing. It's the end result is you guys are going to start talking, but you want to basically leave the ball in the coach's court. Like, does that make sense? Like, you don't want to just leave it to them, because like they'll never contact you. It's just not going to happen that way. You know, like, you want to set the tone where, okay, yes, your coach will contact you, because that's what we do at the end of these webinars, instead of just leave it out there. Because if you don't freaking contact them, you don't follow up with them, then forget it, they're gone. You know, they'll never jump on the opportunity because they never got that push. No one ever came up to them to say, hey, what did you think? What did you like about it? So definitely at the end, that last slide should always be a call to action that says your coach or the person that sent you to this webinar will be contacting you and following up with you. And that's the key. Follow-up is always the freaking key. In anything, free group, challenge group, open house, all that stuff, it doesn't matter. Follow-up is the key, guys.
Yeah, our sponsor, when he did opportunity presentations, he would even end it with like, the coach that invited you to this webinar is going to contact you sometime in the next 24 hours and going to ask you a simple question. How did you like the webinar? And are you ready to join us as a customer or as a coach? Something along those lines. Like he even said what the coach is going to say to them. So they were ready for it.
Right. One other thing before I finish, in the webinar, when I was talking about content, about drawing out your things, drawing out your slides and everything, about the things you want to say, about the hesitations you want to answer, the questions, all that stuff, related to yourself, how you felt, like you felt it was a scam, then put that on there. I thought it was a scam, you know, and then you could say, I thought it was a scam too, you know, so you want to really relate it back to how you felt and then how your coach kind of comforted you and how you experienced that, no, it's not a scam. Like, yes, you do get healthy, you know, all those things. But also, shoot, there was another point I had and I completely forgot. This sometimes happens in webinars too, and it's actually quite embarrassing, but you know, you just learn.
Roll with it.
Yeah, you just roll with it, whatever. But I'm trying to think. Oh, yeah. One, I think what's really good with the webinar that you can make it however you want to also give them the choice. So if it's a what is coaching opportunity webinar, they might not want to join as coach right away, and that's okay. So give them that choice of if you're not ready to coach, maybe you're just ready to be a challenger at this point. Okay? So if they haven't done anything yet and you're talking about coaching all this stuff and they're like, man, I'm not ready, give them that option to just be a challenger. So in that last slide, that call to action slide, yes, something like decide, are you ready to be a discount coach or a hobby coach or go all in business builder coach? Or maybe you just don't want to be anything or you are ready to just be a discount coach and you just want to work on your own transformation. You don't want to touch the business at all. That's okay. Your coach is going to be contacting you to talk about that.
Yeah.
Decide what you want to be, and then your coach will talk to you about what options there are. Something like that. So you always want to give them that kind of option there, and I always will throw in that challenger option, because if they don't want to be a coach and you don't give them any other option, then that's it. They don't want to be a coach.
Yeah.
Like they already decided that. But what if they just want to work on their fitness and transformation? And you kind of have that there to give to them as another option. So.
Yeah, there were a few times too where, I shared the webinar with people and, Jen does a good job of explaining the 3 different types of coaches. And then I'll have people actually follow up with me, or like when I follow up with them, they'll say like, yeah, I want to be a hobby coach. Like they'll know what kind of coach they want to be already.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah. That's another thing I went over to in the webinars about the 3 different kinds of coaches. That always helped a lot because it took a lot of pressure off. So.
Yeah.
But that's it, guys. Do you guys have any questions or anything? I think I answered all of them.
What's
right?
up, Josh?
Sorry I didn't make it, Bryan. I got sick tonight. I just wasn't feeling well.
Aw.
Okay, man. Feel better.
Okay.
Feel better.
I'm digging the mustache.
Yeah, it was good.
The mustache, bro.
Now, let's see what was happening in business. Yeah, I think I pretty much.
Yeah. I want to add on something. It's just like, we don't, in terms of giving webinars when you're not like a diamond or like a 6-figure earner, stuff like that. And I wrote this down, and I love saying this, that, we don't get to give webinars because we're successful coaches, right? We get to be successful coaches because we give a bunch of crappy webinars that lead us to be successful.
Yeah.
Right? They start off crappy in the beginning, unless you knock it out of the park in the beginning, but for the most part.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't.
We get to be successful because we give a bunch of crappy ones, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So thank you
For sure.
I used to hear like a lot of people talk about like when is a good time to start your own team call or start your own team, and everyone's like, well, wait until you get to diamond or 2-star or whatever it is. And then I heard this one person say, well, if there was ever a time to suck, it's like when you're a coach or when you're an emerald. So as soon as possible, start hosting your own stuff. And, because it takes that time to really know what you're doing, to learn it, and to get better. And I heard this statistic the other day. I think it was like people that read something, like you retain like 20% of what you read or something like that, and like 30% of what you hear. And then it's like 95% of what you teach. So the way to learn things is to teach it.
And technically you are teaching people by holding a webinar.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, guys, because I know you guys are amazing and you guys are coaches. I don't care what rank you are, okay? But There will be a point in time. A successful organization is basically you teaching your people little things, like, and just duplicating that over and over again. What was the quote by Eric Worre? Successful organization is teaching a whole bunch of people.
Oh yeah, to teach a whole bunch of people to do a few simple things. A lot of people to do a few simple things over a longer period of time.
Right. That's really all it is. So as much as you guys love Jonathan, as much as he kicks ass in terms of giving the webinars and stuff, he will eventually, like, you guys will want to eventually take that and duplicate it, you know, for yourself. And then so that your coach can duplicate that. And then next thing you know, your whole team will be able to give webinars like down the line. Because honestly, I mean, I'm sure John has no problem giving webinars to hundreds of people and whoever, you know what I'm saying? But eventually you're going to have to take the reins and take ownership and be like, hey, if I'm going to be that diamond coach, if I'm going to lead my own team one day, I'm going to have to take control, and I'm going to have to do this on my own, because I want to be a leader. I don't want to be just, you know, a follower or whatever. I want to be able to just take ownership of my own business and my own success. And that's how things are going to start changing for you over and over, you know, just.
And by the way, that's a good way to build your own business as well. It's like, as soon as you become the leader, you're then grooming, you know, your team of leaders. You're grooming other leaders.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it, guys. I wish I could give you something like so super mind-blowing in terms of like making the webinars and, you know, like, but honestly, it's, if you totally suck at it, that's fine. And because I totally suck at it, just keep on doing it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, and
no one's gonna knock it out of the park. I don't care who you are. You ain't knocking it out of the park. You're gonna mess up. You're gonna mess up. It's just gonna happen. And if you don't, then contact me and tell me you didn't mess up. And I will high five you like crazy, because then you are a lot better than me, because I messed up a million times.
But it's all good.
But yeah, it's totally fine. It's just what happens. You just fail your way, you know, to something better.
Yeah, and like Jen said in the beginning, you could always, you know, duplicate what someone else has done.
No way, Jonathan, don't say that. I just looked at the chat. I'm like, no.
I say that all the time. It's just like, if you're a parent and child, if your child's like 23, God forbid what happens if you pass away. You didn't train your 23-year-old to live life in the world, then what's going to happen? Like,
right. Yeah. That's true. That's very, very true. So you
and not the wood, don't worry.
Really real. But yeah, do you guys have any other questions? I mean, I know that there are a few other, like I think Canva is one that people use for slides and stuff. I mean, I just like PicMonkey because I saw it and I saw Brittany Leggett used it, and now I used it, so I was like, oh, I'll use it. That's literally what I like. Just scoured YouTube and I just started taking like little bits and pieces, and that's how I got into webinars. It wasn't like I had a mind-blowing day and I'm like, I should do webinars. No, it wasn't it at all. So I hope that helped you guys.
Yeah, just set the date, guys, and just do it, just like how Jen and Bryan just did it. They didn't not diamond coaches when they started. Now they're diamond and above.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, guys. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Bryan.
Anytime.
Anytime, guys.
You want to take a quick picture? I was trying to sneak in pictures, and I was like, oh, I don't think people look like this one doesn't look good. This one doesn't look good.
No, I'll be like looking up or like half thinking or something like that. That's just always how it is.
Good, everybody. Just give a smile or whatever, something like that. Fist bump. Like I need to use two hands for this. All right, cool. We got the recording, and guys, show Bryan and Jen some love. You know, add them on Facebook, like all their stuff. If you genuinely like their stuff, by the way, right? If you know, show them some love and thank them for everything. You know, we're gonna.
If you guys make your own webinars, invite us to it because I want to see. We'll support you for sure.
Come tomorrow. I'm hosting one tomorrow, and I invited Bryan. So hopefully,
awesome.
If you guys want to show up, so yeah, it's up to totally up to you guys to see how I do like my
we'll
style.
See you crap under pressure. No, I'm just kidding.
I like to drink Energize. I like to drink half a scoop before I get on.
Awesome, guys.
In terms of that stuff too, like when I first started doing team calls, I was super nervous. Like I would say, like I wanted the team to show up to the calls, but like maybe like 51% of me wanted them to show up and like 49% didn't. You know what I'm saying? So I was so embarrassed and I was so nervous. But the more I kept doing the team calls, the calmer I got. you know. So like now it's like almost no, sometimes just no nerves at all. I'm completely calm, completely confident. Other times there's like a slight bit of nerves, but it's really, really, like, you get used to it, you know. You really do, and you definitely get better at it over time.
Yeah. Bite the bullet, guys.
Do it.
Just do it.
Let's do it up, guys. Take action. Thank you guys for the Faye family. Faye fam.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us.
I'll send you guys a recording too.
Thank you.
All right, absolutely.
Have a great night, guys.
Bye, guys.